Hey, do you struggle when it comes to setting goals? I used to have a hard time reaching goals simply because I didn't know how to set goals. Today, I want to walk you through my personal journey on how and why I started to set personal goals for myself and what came about with me setting those goals. So stick around. Just a little backstory to kind of give you an idea of where I came from versus where I am today. I want to start back in 2014 to 2017, which is, if you've been following my story or my videos, you know that I was incarcerated around that time. So I don't know how other people look at this, but to me, myself, it's probably the worst of the worst. Like, I'm not saying that I was in the worst conditions, but it was the worst place for me to be in my life. Being incarcerated, locked away from the things that you really want to be doing, the people that you want to be around. It was just like not a good place for me. So I wanted to start there to show you where I started this journey at, and where I am today because of the decisions and the habits and things that I learned along the way and implemented. From 2014 to 2017, I was incarcerated, and I won't go into detail about everything regarding, why I was there or what was going on. That's content for another video. For this video, I'm going to explain to you where I started to see changes and where I started to understand my worth and the value that I brought to the workplace. I was working at the chicken plant. I was on the work release program. The chicken plant was probably the worst job. Nobody wanted to go to the chicken plant. Everybody in the work release was like, hey, put me anywhere but there, because you can't have contact with people that you pretty much locked inside a fence, and you inside this building all night long where you can't get access to anything or anybody. You go from the jail to the chicken plant and from the chicken plant back to the jail on a bus. My first few weeks there was horrible because they had me on positions that I didn't really want to do, like, the frozen meat and stuff like that, and your hands get so cold. These females do it like it's nothing. I don't understand it, and today I still don't understand it, but I hated, sorting the meat on the conveyor belts and all that type of stuff because it was so cold in there. I developed an attitude like I loved what I was doing. I was reading motivational stuff, and I was getting different things from different people saying, hey, whatever you do, put your all into it. Do it as if, you would do this without getting paid, or do it like you was getting paid $1 million to do it. And I developed that attitude. It became a habit to where I really started, just making sure that this was done right, that was done right. And I was going overboard with everything. And one day, one of the guys that rode the van with me, who was also incarcerated, a good friend of mine, he reached out to me and was like, man, you got a hell of a work ethic. And it was something that I never really paid attention to. I always knew that I was the type to go above and beyond when it came to certain things, especially when it comes to work. But I mean, because I'm particular about my work and what I do and what I put my name on. But just hearing that from him, it kind of made me feel like, maybe there's something more to this than just what I've been seeing. Like maybe I could take this a little bit further. And basically that's what I did. I was just doing the best job that I can do everywhere, or on every position that they put me on. So people started to take notice. The management, they moved me to different positions, had me, running the jacks and stuff like that, moving pallets around and all that. And that was pretty much a more laid back job than anything else that they had in there. But the main thing was that my manager, he was starting to catch on to the type of person that I was. A lot of guys was going in there and doing their job and just, barely doing what they needed to do. Some of them was high. Some of them was, chasing girls. Some of them, everybody was doing their own thing. Me, I was locked in on doing the best job that I could do to pass this time. And I started to love working at the chicken plant because that was my escape from the jail. The whole jail vibe, being in that room with all these guys and stuff like that, that became my freedom, my escape. I started getting recognized by people throughout that company. My manager, he ended up putting me in the position to marinate the chicken. It's like the Tyson wings that you get at Walmart. I don't remember what brand they were, but he put me on marinating them because some of the guys was, doing the stuff and they wasn't even measuring the stuff out, like the salt and the seasoning and all that. And we talking about large batches. I'm talking about thousands of, you know, probably millions of wings coming through this sauce and this marinade. Ain't nothing worse than going to the store and getting you a bag of chicken wings that's supposed to be marinated and seasoned right, and they don't taste right. We tested some of the stuff while I was working there, and you can tell the difference. Some of these guys didn't know what the hell they was doing. They was just dumping bags of salt into the water and just mixing it up and calling it marinade. I actually followed the directions. I looked at what was on the bag. Okay, so this amount of salt to this amount of water and this amount of seasoning and this amount of this and that. Got it down to where it was word for word what they said on paper. As my wings worked their way through the whole process and got to the end and people started to try them out, a lot of people was like started to be impressed with the wings that I was marinating. And I thought it was the funniest thing in the world because all I did was follow the directions. I followed what the paperwork said, and the wings came out the way that they were supposed to come out. So obviously, that kind of gave me the big head, but not to a point to where I was just, feeling like I was better than everybody. It was the fact that people around me, like I was noticing that a lot of these people don't follow the directions. And that was an advantage that I had over a lot of people. The fact that I took the time to make sure that I did the thing that I was supposed to do, doing it the right way, it made me shine. So that started to happen with a lot of different things that I was doing at that same particular company. I started to get my way. I started to move around the way that I wanted to move around. Most of the time, nobody even cared about what I was doing because I was on top of my stuff. Like I was ahead, and I started to get to a point to where I was making batch after batch after batch, and I was waiting on them to catch up. So I don't know if anybody identifies with this, what I'm talking about right now, but that feeling that you get from, knowing you got your stuff done right and being ahead of the game is something that, I can't even really explain. I got to a point to where I was just like, you know what, I'm tired of doing this. I want to do something different. And I ended up getting transferred to South Louisiana jail, to where I was able to focus on the things that I wanted to focus on to get out early, going and taking these programs and classes and stuff to where I can get back to my daughter. That was my main goal, to get out and get back to my daughter, because she was born 2 months before I was incarcerated. So, but from there, I listened to motivational stuff on a daily basis. Jim Rohn, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, Warren Buffett, a bunch of different people, Eric Thomas, and got to a point to where I was just this motivational maniac. And I know a lot of people really didn't understand it because, they was doing their thing. They was, gambling, doing all types of stuff on a daily basis. I was learning how to play chess. I was, I played spades occasionally, but for the most part, I was focusing on things that opened my mind up and helped me to understand where I made mistakes at in the past, where I'm at today, and what I need to do to not make mistakes in the future and get to where I want to be at. So, like I said, I played chess, and chess really opened my eyes to a lot of stuff that's going on in life. And I can't even explain that. You have to just sit down and take the time to learn how to play the game of chess to understand what I'm talking about. But it applies a lot to life. So, I read books on a daily basis, man. I got sucked into these books. I started off with the Jack Reacher novels and Stuart Woods novels. It just that was my thing. It was a story to me that I could read in there, and it took me outside of that jail and just placed me in that author's shoes, or the character's shoes, like it was actually me out here doing the things that he was doing in the book. So that helped me out a lot. But that alone made me want to read more books, self-help books, like psychology type stuff and things that would help me grow and move on to the next level type stuff. So I obviously came out of jail with a different attitude than what I went in, because now I've learned so much stuff. I've picked up these books and gotten used to read them on a daily basis. I get out, and I start, I continue listening, but I don't have as much time to actually sit back and read. But I started putting two and two together. When I started that job at the gas station after I was released, I was already working on the next thing. Like, I started looking into getting my CDL, and I hear a lot of people say, I don't have time to do this, I don't have time to do that. I made time where I was sitting around doing nothing, had nothing going on. I focused on studying for my CDL. I ran into a roadblock. I started looking at the prices of CDLs and what it was going to take to get a CDL. And it was just like, man, I can't afford this right now. I'm not making that kind of money. So instead of giving up on the thought of getting a CDL, I just kept at it and learned as much as I could and started to break it down into bite-sized pieces that I could attack individually, a little bit at a time. I don't know what made me start doing things this way, but I think that was the key. Like, that was a turning point in my life when it came to, just progressing and things all around me. So I broke it down. I worked on the pre-trip, learned the whole pre-trip, and I even broke that down into sections, the pre-trip. Work on one part of the truck and then move to the next part of the truck. Because once you get that one part of the truck, it's not like it don't go away as long as you practice it. You got that with you and you can move on to the next piece. And then you start to develop a body of knowledge about this whole truck. And now it's, now all you got to do is start working on the things that you hadn't been working on. So I moved on to the DMV side of things, went and talked to them and found out that I can get my permit for $15. And all I need to do is take these 3 tests, get my medical card, DOT medical card, and physical and all that type of stuff. And so I started to piece it all together like, wait a minute, I don't have to pay $6,000, $7,000 to get this done. I called up the CDL place around where I was living at, and they pretty much told me, hey, $2,500, $3,500. Another one said $5,500. Another one said, different prices and stuff. I called a place down in South Louisiana, and they told me if you got your own truck, $100. So that got my gears to turning like, wait a minute. If they can do it for $100, if I just got my own truck, but I don't have my own truck. I got on with this company that had trucks down in South Louisiana. And it didn't happen right away, but it was still in the back of my mind like, hey, I could use that truck to go and get my CDL. And it'll be beneficial for both of us. Like, I'll be a CDL driver and they'll have a CDL driver to run these pieces of equipment and all that type of stuff. So that's basically what I did. I stuck with that company for a few months, got my CDL through them. I got to practice pulling a gooseneck around and all that with the 5500. And eventually I got to a point to where I was comfortable enough to back up and do all the maneuvers that I needed to do. Went and took the test. I failed it the first time around. I backed the latest truck up into a pole because I ended up renting a truck to get the full Class A CDL. I backed this latest truck up into a pole and she was so damn pissed. So I went back to take the test a few weeks later in the company truck that I worked for, paid $100, took the test, knocked it out, and ended up getting a full Class A CDL with a gooseneck and a 5500. And that's another story that I'll tell you, where I messed that up at, because I shouldn't have got a full Class A CDL with that. But like I said, that's another story. But long story short, I got into truck driving. So now I'm making better money to just drive trucks. Well, I started thinking about what else might be possible. Like, this is not the end for me. Like, I want to go further and further than, where I've been. So I started looking into, a friend of mine has been a welding inspector for about 10, 12 years. And he mentioned to me, hey, man, you should go and get your CPWI. I started doing research on it. And I realized that these people that were CPWIs or CWIs, welding inspectors, made a decent amount of money. I mean, and that's kind of what drove me. Like, I looked at the money and I was sold on the whole situation. Like, man, I need to get this. I mean, whether I get it today or tomorrow or next year or the next year, this is something that I know I need to work on, and it will put me in a much better position than where I am. And so that's what I did. I started studying for the CPWI exam while I was still a truck driver. So, and I'm saying that to say, you know, a lot of people, they look at situations and they say, I can't do this right now. I can't do that right now. I'm focused on this. I'm focused on that. Man, it's unlimited possibilities, like what you could do with the time that you don't even realize that you're wasting. Because, you know, I had to show myself, man, you got time to actually study for this. While I was driving in that truck, I was reading and listening to CPWI stuff, because I was driving a water truck. It wasn't like I was over the road. I was driving on a ranch, spraying water on roads and stuff. And there's videos of that online of me doing it. I was able to listen to all this information and just constantly program it into my head while also listening to motivational stuff on a daily basis. This stuff is becoming second nature to me, this welding inspection stuff. I put my all into it and just started working on it step by step, breaking it down in bite-sized pieces and focusing on one piece at a time. I set up the test. I worked up the courage to pay, and I say the courage because I ain't never really paid a lot of money for, you know, certifications and stuff like that. But this was something that I saw myself better in myself. Like, if you don't invest in yourself, why should you make it? If you don't even believe that you can make it, why should anybody else believe that you can make it? So I spent that $1,900 to go and take that exam, and I was nervous about it the whole time, even though I had been studying for months. I looked at the whole situation like, hey, I'm going down the next week. I'm going to take off a week to go and take this exam. If I fail, which I probably will, I'm going to just reschedule, go back and take it again. At least I know what's on it this time, the next time around. Well, while I'm sitting through this class, I was really paying attention and just trying to catch as much information as I could and make sure that I got through this and I didn't fail it. Something started to happen while I was sitting there in class. I'm like, hey, you know, this makes sense to me. It's not as difficult to understand this stuff as I thought it was going to be. So me being the only person in the room that didn't have a full welding background, I think I walked out of there in 3 hours, and I was the only one that wasn't a welder. The exam lasted 6 hours. They give you 6 hours for the exam. So that made me feel like, hey, I didn't do a good job on this test. Like, how did I get out of here before everybody, and I'm not even a welder? I was nervous the whole weekend waiting on my results to come back. And on Monday at lunchtime, I get a message, you know, an email saying, you passed. And man, what a relief that was. I went back to work, kept working for the job that I was working with, and just started pushing my resume out. And once I started pushing my resume out, I started to kind of relax and not really, you know, expect too much. Like, it is what it is. If I keep this job, it's good money that I'm making right now. If I get the CPWI job, the welding inspection job, I'm gonna be in a better place. So I'm set. Everything is taken care of. All I got to do is just make sure I keep doing what I'm doing. I get a call a few months later to go and take a welding inspection job. And I couldn't even believe it when I got the call, because I'm just like, man, it ain't happening all this time, and now it's finally happening. Is this real, or is this, you know, just my imagination? So of course I responded to him with a yes. I'm interested in it, and they hooked me up and told me to come down to Texas to take the OQ training. It's a wrap from there. Like, I've been out here inspecting wells. If you follow me, you know that I just went and took my API 1169. I passed it, and I'm using the same process on every single thing that I do to get to the next level, but to hold on to the job that I have, or hold on to whatever it is that I'm doing right now that's getting me through while I'm working on the next thing. And I think if people, you know, stopped and thought about that for a second, you know, came out of the comfort zone just a little bit more and stopped thinking that, hey, you know, it's death and evil outside that circle that you stay inside, or that square that you stay inside, man, people can actually get somewhere. Because I know a lot of people that I grew up with who are just not even open to doing the types of things that I do. It's sad because I know the possibilities. I know it's endless possibilities for people who go out and do the things that they want to do and act and truly live their lives and stuff. And I'm not saying that I'm 100% truly living my life, but I'm a long way away from where I started at, trying to get started doing something or doing whatever it was. My very first job was at Kentucky Fried Chicken in West Monroe, KFC. And I was the guy bagging the food on the drive-through line. So, from there at 17 to being 38 now, welding inspector, truck driver, all types of certifications and stuff that I can easily fall back on if things just didn't work out. I impress myself sometimes, and not trying to toot my own horn or nothing like that, but man, it's possible. If I can do it coming from where I came from, like I had the worst run in to where I felt like my life was ending because of this incarceration stuff and all the hell that I went through with all that. I just felt like, companies would never look at me the same. They're going to think that, hey, no, don't give him a job or whatever. Man, I pretty much came out of there and made my own way in life. So I'm making my own way. So it's possible for you too. So, I know this was kind of long and I didn't want it to be this long, but, man, I just wanted to kind of put that information out there and hopefully it could help somebody. If it only helps one or two people, I'd be happy with that. Like, that's success to me. So if you've experienced this in any kind of way, what I'm talking about right now, please leave the number 1 in the comment section. I'm not even asking you to subscribe or like or none of that type of stuff, but I want to know who really identifies with what I just talked about and has actually been through this type of stuff and know it to be a situation or a strategy that works for you, just by working on the next thing while you still in the last thing. Like this job that I'm on right now, I'm actually working on the next thing because I don't plan on being here long. And I know that probably sounds harsh to a lot of people, but I don't like to stay stagnant. I like to move on up the ladder and on up the ladder. And then the next level, I realize, I can go higher than this, move on up the next level. If you ever felt like that, if you ever been through situations like that, if you've had that experience, please leave a 1 in the comment section. I appreciate y'all for watching. I'm going to keep on dropping videos and, they'll change up. It'll be different stuff on here. You'll see me fishing. You'll see me cooking and all types of stuff. So, it is what it is. I'm a real person. I'm not a robot. I'm not, a celebrity or nothing like that. I hadn't made it. And I don't, even when I do make it, I don't plan on turning into a person that you can't get in contact with. Like I am who I am, and I've been through similar stuff that y'all have, and I'm a human. So, and I'm gonna always be a human. So reach out, man, if that's what you want to do. But yeah, like if you've been through this, place a 1, the number 1 in the comment section. And I'll see y'all on the next one. Appreciate you for watching. Have a good day.